Hi, my name is Gale Tedhams. I'm the Director of Sustainability for Owens Corning, and we're providing to you a series of videos on the LEED version 4. And this is session 4 of that series, and today we're going to do another deeper dive into the materials and resources credit, talking about product disclosures for raw materials and material ingredients. So by the end of this session, you'll be able to understand the materials disclosure, sourcing of raw materials and materials ingredients. You'll know what has changed with LEED version 4, and you'll understand what Owens Corning products meet this certification. So the comparison now of material ingredients from LEED version 3 is pretty easy because it didn't exist in LEED version 3. So LEED version 4 has a whole new set of criteria for material ingredients. There's a list of disclosure paths. There's the identification of material ingredient optimization, as well as supply chain information. One thing to note, in the LEED version 3, the regional location of materials was important. That was within the 500 miles of the project. That has gone away as a single attribute. And now the reward for local materials is within 100 miles, so it's much shorter. And it only applies as an extra credit to an already existing credit. So it doesn't stand on its own anymore. So let's talk about the LEED credit for sourcing of raw materials. It has two parts, or two options. First, using 20 different materials from at least 5 manufacturers that have publicly released a report from their raw material suppliers, which includes extraction locations and commitments for impact reduction. Frankly, I'm not sure of anyone that is doing that at this moment. We don't have that information for our products, and option 2 has been more popular. That continues to identify the individual attributes for products. Recycled content, bio-based materials, for wood products is the FSC certification, extended producer responsibility, and materials reuse. This is also another area where USGBC can approve new pathways. And for this one too, this is where the local materials within 100 miles can add extra credit for those products that already have an attribute such as recycled content. Option 2 is the credit area, which is more popularly used at this moment. Third-party certification is important to identify both the post-consumer and pre-consumer numerical information on how much recycled content is in the product. For Owens Corning, we use 2 different certification bodies. For all our fiberglass insulation and our foam insulation, we use SCS Global Services. For our thermofiber or mineral wool insulation, we use ICCES. Let's talk a little bit about extended producer responsibility, what that is. The idea of that is that the producer of a product would take back that product at the end of its useful life. So you may get questions around whether or not that is possible for Owens Corning products. At this moment, we don't have a take-back program for any of our products, but this is something that might be typical for like ceiling tiles or some carpet products. Chemical transparency and disclosure is an important new attribute in the LEED version 4. And it's really part of the strategy of looking at human health impact. First of all, understanding what materials are in products, understanding their hazards and the hazards that are associated with those individual ingredients, but also the question of exposure and risk is still to be addressed. So there's an intention for allowing for greater understanding of what material selections are being made and decision-making around that. We also need to move to understand more of the risks and exposures, because you can have a chemical that's in a product that has a hazard on its own, but in the process of making the final product renders that non-hazardous due to the fact that no exposure is going to be made to the occupants. So the LEED version 4 credit for product disclosures and optimization under material ingredients looks at 20 different permanently installed products from at least 5 manufacturers that use any of the following programs to characterize their products around material ingredient disclosure. So it could be a simple manufacturer inventory. It could be a health product declaration, and this is really one of the first pathways that came out where architects were asking for what was called HPDs, and that's the Health Product Declaration. The next one is Cradle to Cradle certified at the version 2 basic or the version 3 bronze level. And then new in 2016, they added more pathways to be considered for this credit. So one was the Declare label, evaluated down to 1,000 ppm, the ANSI BIFMA standard for furniture, and then the Cradle to Cradle Material Health Certificate, at least the bronze level, where 90% of the materials are assessed by weight. Now, Owens Corning has chosen to assess their products according to the Cradle to Cradle Material Health Assessment. The reason that we chose Cradle to Cradle Material Health Certificates is that not only are the hazards identified for any ingredients in the products, but also the product is assessed for risk and exposure, and that is provided in a color-coded mechanism to provide that information to the architect. And the color-coded scheme just identifies what materials are considered to be ready for optimization, meaning that we should try to find substitutions, or are fully optimized and need no further work. So this shows the Material Health Certificate from Cradle to Cradle. You can find that on their website, or you can also find it on our website with the architectural and design information. The Human Health Impact certification goes from bronze to platinum level. This shows our EcoTouch insulation product, and it's rated at the gold level. You can see that most of the ingredients are in the green pie that's at the bottom of the page, and that the check marks identify the assessment ratings for that product. So this is an easy way to identify and also characterize the products that we have, and we have these material health certificates for our fiberglass insulation, our mineral wool insulation, and XPS foam. Additionally, our EcoTouch bats, unfaced bats, and our unbonded loose fill has achieved the Living Product Challenge certification. And this is through the International Living Futures Institute. This group has the Living Building Challenge, Green Building Program, which is a step above the requirements for LEED version 4. We also have Declare labels for those products. So again, all of this information would be sent in any kind of information package even for the LEED program. So that ends session 4, and next time we're going to be talking about the last credit of Indoor Environmental Quality, which will touch on low emitting materials and acoustics. So I hope you join me for that session.